Hey guys, Eldred Bird here, coming to you live from the front seat of my car today. And before you say anything, no, I am not fooling with my phone while I'm driving. I am parked in the parking lot of my favorite antique mall. I like to go in and poke through all of the things. It's kind of a fun place because there are a lot of things in there that have stories of their own. A lot of older pieces, odd things, some obscure items that have their own short stories to go with them. And today I want to talk about short stories. Some of you may know I've already put up one of my stories on Amazon this week. I also put it out there for those of you who want to sign up for my newsletter. You can get it for free. So you may be asking, you've done 2 novels now, you're deep into the 3rd. Why are you backing off and doing short stories? And actually, it's not really backing off. There are a lot of reasons to do short stories. One of them is short stories actually can be harder than doing a full-length novel. It's really an exercise in concentration, in getting things down to what really matters. When you sit down, if you're writing a 50, 60, 70,000, up to 100,000 word novel, you have a lot of room to build characters, to build emotion, to build the scenes, to let people see what you're seeing in your head. When you're dealing with a short story, you're having to take that all down and concentrate it into one little thing. Think of it this way. When you were a kid, if you had that, 64 color box of crayons, man, you could draw anything. So you'd sit down and you could do this amazing picture. Now, somebody takes that crayon box away and hands you the little 10-pack and says, okay, draw the same picture. How hard is that? Now you've got to take all of those details and all of that color that you put into the other one and all of those little nuances, and you've got to find those things that really communicate what it is you're trying to communicate, that really paint the picture in a very succinct and meaningful way without a lot of extraneous stuff. And short story is a great way to practice that. It's also a really good way to learn new things. When you sit down to do maybe an introduction, a different point of view than you've ever written from before, or a different genre, you don't want to sit down and do a whole book and then look back and go, oh, this isn't working. Now I need to change everything. I need to either change my point of view, I need to scrap it and go back to what I know, or whatever. It's actually a really good practice to do a short story and really perfect that genre or perfect your communicating in that point of view. One of the things that I did was, we have someone in the critique group that I go to that is very, very good at first person present tense. Very difficult to write. So I was impressed enough that I wanted to be able to do it as well. I've been writing, third person omniscient and third person limited mostly. When I'd write first person, it was past tense. I did a lot of first person in my when I was writing personal essays, for example, and that was good. But when you saw the first person present tense, it kind of blew me away, because not only was I looking through the eyes of the character, but I was discovering the things as the character did, in the same time frames, in the same way even. So everything, I was living through it, which is really an awesome thing to be able to do. So I decided I wanted to be able to do that. So I did write a first-person present tense personal essay, because, of course, I was used to doing the first-person thing with personal essay. Well, then I went ahead and thought, you know what? I'm gonna take it to the fiction level. And that's really where The Waking Room, the story that I put up this week came from, was wanting to be able to write from that first person point of view in present tense and really take the reader into discovering things as the protagonist does, and the reader really becomes the protagonist. And so that's a really good way to practice those kinds of things, is a short story, because you get some immediate gratification. You don't spend months working and twisting and and playing and grinding to come up with a whole book in this, and then look back and go, oh, okay, I did it. No, you get that immediate gratification. If you really know what it is that you want to write, you can write a short story in a couple of hours. Not necessarily that much time. You're going to spend that much more time editing it, believe me, if not even more. The one that you're getting right now, this week, actually went through about 7 different rewrites before it finally got to the point that I liked it. So that in itself, okay, it did take some work, but it didn't take as much work as doing a whole novel, and I learned an awful lot from the process. And so I'm kind of getting into this thing. And the other thing now is flash fiction is becoming a big deal. And for those of you who don't know what flash fiction is, it's even shorter. So instead of maybe having 4,000 or 5,000 words, 2,000 words, we're talking under 1,000 words, under 500 words. We've had some that I've read in Critique Group from one of the people who goes in there. If some of you may see me comment on her stuff, her name is Suda. She's been doing things that are 100-word limits. You want to talk about tough and having to get every single ounce of performance you can out of those words that she uses. And so she has a very, very broad vocabulary of very descriptive words, and she chooses those words very carefully. And when we critique her pieces, it becomes a math session as well, because it's, well, if I want to add words here, I got to take one away somewhere else, and I got to do so. We end up doing math as well when we go through her stories. But it's so worth it, because it's such a good exercise in really, really learning your craft, and learning not only what the limits are, but learning that those limits of the writing take you to places that are unlimited, because now you're learning new ways to express yourself. You're learning new ways to use the language, and you're learning new ways to use just those 10 crayons, and maybe even get down to the 5-pack that they give you at the they give the kids at the restaurant. And so that's really a good explanation of why I think all authors can benefit from doing some short story. It lets you experiment. It lets you do things, and you can use it for things like I am this week. I'm putting the stories out there so that I can encourage people to sign up for my newsletter. It's a way to give you something for giving me something. I'm not just going to raise my hand and say, hey, give me your information, give me your thing, which, believe me, folks, I'm not going to spam you. You'll be lucky if you get one from me every month or two. I'm going to try to make it at least quarterly. But you get something in return then. And also, as I am learning more and more and experimenting with different genres or different points of view, different stories, I can also then share those things with you in the future in those newsletters. In fact, I already have an under 500-word flash fiction lined up to go into the first newsletter. For those of you who do sign up, you will get that exclusive content. It's not going to be posted it's not something that will go up onto Amazon unless someday I put together an anthology of short stories. It might go into that. But for now, it's just going to be for you guys. So, it really isn't backing off to go from full novels to short stories. It really is pushing me forward and pushing my skills forward and pushing me to try even harder to become better at what I'm doing so that I can entertain you guys a little bit better as well. And that's about all I have to say today. So I'll tell you what, guys, I'm going to go into the antique mall here, and I'm going to see if I can dig through some things and find some new stories. Thanks a lot.